you think you're dangerous?
Dangerous to whom?
The public?
Never. The people who are dangerous are the ones in control of drones and bombs, like the UK government.
There are different ways that the government, the police and British institutions can deal with people considered radical. De-radicalise them, arrest them, control them, recruit them, silence them. So what does each involve? What works and what might backfire? I've been examining each of these measures, asking which are successful and speaking to the people subject to them. They have views that many consider offensive, but that's why they're called radical. So what's this?
So what we're looking at here is my bail conditions when I was released on the 26th of September 2014. The first condition is not to contact all my friends.
And that's al-Haddad, who's now in Syria?
Islamic State, yeah.
Not to attend or organise dawah stalls, which means
propagating Islam.
Abdul Wahid is 33 and from London. Currently, he and his wife don't have their passports. Last September, he was arrested on suspicion of membership of a proscribed organisation in an operation that included controversial preacher Anjem Choudhury and al-Haddad, also known as Abu Rumaisa, who skipped bail and is now living under the so-called Islamic State. Anjem Choudhury has since been charged with inviting support for the same group.
They deliberately left travel documents inside our homes for us to surrender it ourselves.
After his arrest, Abdul was given strict bail conditions and had a long list of items confiscated from his house.
And these are the record of property seized, so this is what they took from your house?
That's correct, yeah.
An iPad, a laptop, cash, and that's your passport and your wife's passport?
That's right, yeah.
If the police or government want to try and control someone, there are a range of options. The criminal courts, but if that's not possible, they may use other, more controversial tactics.
Do you think you should be allowed to go around and try and encourage people towards your viewpoint, though?
Why shouldn't I be allowed? Am I any different than any other citizen in the UK? The whole idea of this country of freedom of speech and freedom of ideas, freedom of thought. As soon as one tries to use these freedoms, they're slapped back down.
So one of the people you were arrested with, al-Haddad, Abu Rumaisa, now lives under the so-called Islamic State.
But Abu Rumaisa, I must say, he has been raided every year, twice a year, over the last 8 years, I believe. And so this kind of disruption by the police may have possibly made him make the decision of saying he's had enough of the UK and go and live elsewhere.
Do you support his decision to live in...
I think everyone should be free to travel wherever they want if he hasn't committed a single crime. I don't believe it's a crime even, according to UK law, to go and live inside the Islamic State.
The police and government are of course very concerned about those that go, want to go, or tell others they should go and live in the area currently controlled by the so-called Islamic State. And we have no evidence that harassment made al-Haddad, aka Abu Rumaisa, go. Abdul has recently had his bail conditions reduced so he can propagate Islam again.
You and your friends propagate the kind of Islam that supports ISIS.
We propagate Islam, and you find it difficult to find someone who says there's something wrong in our propagation of Islam.
Okay, but there's a process. You encourage people to Islam and then you say that the Islamic State is a good Islamic place to live.
And so convert UK to Islam. It's an Islamic State. So we don't need to travel anywhere. Islam is a religion for the whole world. And I believe the Islamic law and order will come to the whole world, including Great Britain.
Do you understand why that makes the government worry about you?
The government needs to understand what extremist is. They're having trouble defining extremism, and so I'm not the one with the problem here. Theresa May and David Cameron, when put on air, are unable to define extremism, so how can they point out who is an extremist?
Do you think you're an extremist?
I think that David Cameron and Theresa May are extremists. Secular fundamentalist extremists.
Do you concede that there are many members of the public that would prefer to see you controlled? That would think you are dangerous?
The members of the public who may think this are already being controlled by the mass media.
Do you see why the police want to control you, want to limit your movements and your activity?
It's not the police, it's the Queen and her government, UK government, want to silence any kind of opposition voice. And they've done so before. They might come out of a new one where they might say, I'm not allowed to come on TV appearances, and you're thinking, oh, that's a nice idea. But they did that to Gerry Adams, and all they had was someone doing a heavy Irish accent voiceover of him propagating his views.
The most obvious method of controlling someone is to convict. There are other options though, if you can't do that.
There are a very few exceptional cases in which other measures can be taken, particularly where terrorism is concerned, because it's considered so serious. And I would have said the main two are, first of all, an asset freeze, where somebody can actually suffer very serious controls on how they can use their money. And then right at the top of the tree, you've got the terrorism prevention and investigation measures. That's called a TPIM. It used to be called a control order, which can result in a whole range of restrictions, including a curfew. Even the place you live, you can be moved away from your home area. You can be restricted in terms of who you can talk to, the electronic equipment you can use, and so on.
The government also has the option to remove a person's passport, either as a bail condition like Abdul, or at a port by police. Or the Home Secretary can use the royal prerogative to take someone's passport. This used to be very rare, but is now being used much more frequently, and specifically used to stop people travelling to live under the so-called Islamic State. The question for the government and police is what to do about people like Abdul, if anything, who believes in his right to preach what others consider hate speech.
Do you believe in killing those who insult Islam?
That's a statement of the Prophet Muhammad, and I believe before we even get there, we shouldn't be in a society of insulting each other.
I don't think that really answers my question.
It does answer your question. Why are we in a society where we have to insult one another? It's 10 years since 7/7 took place, and we remembered the 52 people that died. The causes are still the same, and so we're not any safer.
Do you think it was justified?
I think it was inevitable. Why? Because of what the security services have said, which you bomb a country, they'll bomb us back.
Abdul argues that the police are using his bail conditions to control him. He's been on bail for almost a year, which many argue shouldn't be possible.
What they can do is release you on bail at the moment for a very long period of time. And we see this not just in terrorist cases, but for example in some of the Operation U-Tree cases of alleged paedophiles, where people were kept on police bail for periods of up to a year. That's actually going to change, and the Home Secretary announced in March she was going to reform the law. In principle, you should never be on police bail for more than 3 months without the permission of the court. And the court should scrutinise the conditions that you're placed under, because of course those conditions themselves can be quite onerous.
You haven't got a passport. If you had a passport, would you be happy to just go and live under the so-called Islamic State?
I'll be happy to live anywhere in the world.
Do you think you're dangerous?
Dangerous to whom?
The public?
Never.
They collaborate with the global banking system to bring masses of third world people into this country to replace, rape and murder our people.
And my beliefs, yeah, I was thinking I've got nothing to lose and I have a lot to win. If I die, if they shoot me or anything, I'm not gonna lose anything except my life.